Wheel of Sound. The top sound from the week that was in the world of sports.
It's a pretty crazy week, too. People making all kinds of outlandish claims. So we will play you the best of the best here on SportsCenter Saturday, ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests via the Subway Fresh Take hotline. Give that wheel a spin.
Charles Barkley.
White people and black people also are a lot more comfortable around black people who wear a nice suit and don't have a bunch of tattoos. It's unfortunate that came out, but that's just the bottom line. He's trying to sell his business. Do I think he overstepped his bounds? Of course I do. Because unless you're going to say, nobody on my team can get tattoos. And that's the way I feel about that.
I love Charles Barkley, but that comment is kind of giving me a headache. Like, I'm literally rubbing my temples right now listening to it. It's just so many problems with it. The first is that Jerry Richardson, the owner of the Panthers, never told, and people keep getting this wrong. This is like one of those games of operator, telephone, whatever you call it. He never told Cam Newton he couldn't get a tattoo. He didn't decree anything. He didn't make a rule. He didn't hold him to a different standard. He said, yeah, let's keep it that way. They may have, for all we know, be bonding over the fact that they both think tattoos are dumb. All right, so he didn't make any rule or decree anything. That's the first part. The second part is that, and maybe it's hard for me to say this, I'm a white man, and that makes me part of a privileged class. I'm not going to pretend to have walked a mile in anybody's shoes. But I think Charles is right. A white man or a black man are more comfortable with black people that are non-tattooed and in a nice suit. But here's the thing. They're also more comfortable with white people that are not tattooed and in a nice suit. I think in general, it's not necessarily a racial thing. Just like people that are dressed better and not tatted up. And if Jerry Richardson is A, trying to sell his business, maybe this is part of what helps him do that. And B, if Cam Newton wants to be an icon, as he has previously said he wants to be, maybe Jerry Richardson is just offering him some friendly advice on the best way to be there. I wish I could have been in the room. I wish I could have heard the tone and the rest of the conversation, because I think we are all trying to speculate on something we don't truly understand. Spin the wheel.
Tigers manager Jim Leyland.
I think there should be the most valuable pitcher and the most valuable player. I don't really think that a pitcher should be the most valuable player. I'm not looking for arguments or controversy. I just think that when a guy goes out there 158 times, 155 times, and, has a big year, an MVP type year, I don't think that a guy that goes out there 35 times should be named over that guy.
Now, it's Jim Leyland on WXYT. Two problems with this. The first is I don't know how much that helps in his clubhouse, right? Saying to the media that his own player isn't necessarily the MVP. I don't know how much that helps, but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. When you're Jim Leyland, you deserve and have earned the right to do things like that. I just disagree. I think if we're constantly going to be telling people these old adages of baseball that pitching is the most important thing, then let's allow them to win the MVP if they're truly the most valuable player in the league that year. I think Jose Bautista, I'll agree with Keith Law, has put up the best numbers, and so I think he's the MVP. But I certainly understand people who are voting for Verlander this year when he may have meant more to his team value than anybody else in the game. Mike Salk with you, SportsCenter Saturday and ESPN Radio. Spin the wheel.
ESPN NFL analyst John Gruden.
The momentum of the game, the strategy, and really just being a fan, I think, suffers when you're replaying all these scoring plays. I went to the Jets-Bengals game last night.
I know, I was sitting next to you.
I'm crazy. I sat out in the rain, and I saw two of those, and everybody's booing. It's not good for football. Rain delays are bad for baseball. Power outages are bad for everybody. This is not a good thing.
As John Gruden objecting to the delays as they check every single touchdown to make sure it was legitimate. I like it. I think getting it right is more important than a brief delay. I will, again, I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. I'm respectfully disagreeing with a lot of people that have a lot of respect for. Spin the wheel again.
The New York Yankees.
1-2 to Granderson.
Swung on and drilled at deep right center. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. Another grand slam. Or in this case, a grander slam.
John Sterling, WCBS. I'm shaking my head because I think all of the hip hip Jorge, a text message for Teixeira, an A-bomb from A-Rod, El Capitan for Jeter, I think they're lame, like capital L lame. And it pains me to say this. I really like the grander slam. I think it's funny. I think it's clever. I think it's creative, and I like a good pun, and I'm going to give him credit for the grander slam, especially when it was the third of the night for the Yankees. They went 22-9 over Oakland. I'm disagreeing with people I like a lot, and now I'm supporting John Sterling's call. It's a weird night for me. Let me start off with that. Spin the wheel again.
Thursday Night Football.
A little late on getting the snap there, and we have a whistle.
Both start offense. The entire offensive line. 5-yard penalty. That's still first down.
Good for him. Good job by the ref. Just give it to the whole offensive line. So the preseason doesn't matter anyway, right? Refs are fun. Never going to beat the giving them the business. That's still the best call you've ever heard from a ref. He was giving them the business. I like refs who want to have a good time out there. Good stuff. Spin the wheel.
ESPN NFL analyst Mark Schlereth.
Cam Newton was woefully inadequate from the pocket. I mean, he didn't have great pocket presence. He didn't move around. He didn't create windows for himself. It's almost like, hey, kid, you got to become a pocket passer. And so he stood there and said, I'm going to do this. And he was awful.
That story's not going away anytime soon because Cam Newton really has not played well, right? I mean, he's throwing the ball at a 40% completion rate, which is terrible. That's not even close to NFL capability. But the parts of Cam's game that are more refined, that are right now NFL ready, aren't his ability to throw and throw accurately. They're hoping that develops down the road. That's why they drafted him as an upside #1 overall pick. But the question is, and no one knows the answer, do you try to form him into a drop back passer and get the very most out of what he could be, or do you try to let him just do what he does and try to win the game his way? The problem is that's never truly worked in the NFL. So is he so much more athletic and so much better that he'll be the first one to make it work? I don't know. I think that's why you got to try to mold him into that drop back passer long term. And if he can't do it in the game, then he can't do it. Spin the wheel.
Tennessee women's coach Pat Summitt.
Earlier this year, the doctors at the Mayo Clinic diagnosed me with an early onset dementia, Alzheimer's type, at the age of 59.
Yeah, this is just awful. I mean, it's just very sad. Pat Summitt, obviously one of the great all-time coaches in any sport, but certainly in her sport of women's basketball, Tennessee. She is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, a horrible, horrible disease to suffer through, not just for her, but for her family. My grandmother went through it. I think it was harder on my mom than anyone. Really, if you have the opportunity, donate to Alzheimer's research. Very important, something we do need a cure for. Nice job there by Steve Cerruti. He's our assistant producer tonight. First time ever on the air tracking all of that, saying he was the one saying Thursday Night Football and doing a fantastic job, no less. All right, good job, Cerruti. Coming up next, Peyton Manning, I think, is in real trouble. I'm worried about his health. Tell you why next. Mike Salk with you on ESPN Radio.